Las Vegas, famous, fabulous playground of the West. A wide-open town that never goes to sleep.
Vegas! Vegas, baby, Vegas!
You're either in or you're out. Right now.
My best mates are down to Las Vegas this weekend. I'm told it's incredible.
Vegas, here we go!
Pack your bags and get ready. You're going to Vegas with people who know Vegas. You're listening to Vegas Never Sleeps with Steven Maggi.
Welcome to Vegas. Today, let's turn the calendar back to the 1970s, the days when the Carpenters were releasing hits like We've Only Just Begun and Close to You. There were also the days when we weren't on our phones, but instead were out playing pinball. Well, you can experience those days again here in Las Vegas. Today, you'll meet the stars of a great Carpenters tribute show, which is playing Tuesdays and Wednesdays in Town Square. Later, you'll meet the proprietor of the Pinball Hall of Fame, where you can not only see hundreds of classic pinball machines, but you can play them as well.
Don't you remember you told me you loved me, baby? You said you'd be coming back this way again, baby. Baby, oh baby, I love you, I really do.
We're seeing shows again in Vegas. We love it, and some great tribute shows, and one of the very best, and one that you don't hear a lot of, is for the Carpenters. And we've got two great people, Sally Olson and Ned Mills, as Karen and Richard Carpenter. They're both with us today, and we're going to talk about it. They're doing a 6-week residency, so you want to get your tickets as soon as you can. It'll start next weekend, and it'll run for the next 6 weeks, Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 7 o'clock over at Stoney's Rockin Country in Town Square, which is a great locale. Well, I got to ask you guys, first of all, Sally, you guys look like the Carpenters and you sound like the Carpenters. What made you decide to do that? Because Karen Carpenter sometimes scares people because she was such a great singer and stuff, played the drums and so forth, and yet you guys went for it. How did you decide to go and do this tribute act to the Carpenters?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, people can get very intimidated by trying to fill Karen Carpenter's shoes because she was just such a huge talent. For me, this all kind of came together really as a happy accident back about 6 or 7 years ago. I'm from Vermont, so we're talking back in Vermont in around 2014. I had been training professionally as a singer, and I got to the point that I wanted to put together a one-woman show. And at that point, I had no idea of what I wanted to do, except that I was always very much into the music of the 60s and 70s all through my childhood and high school, even to the point where I was only listening to oldies radio stations and wearing only vintage clothing. So when I started reading through music and kind of brainstorming about what the show would be, in pretty short order, I started looking through Carpenters' songbooks, and I quickly realized that it was a great fit vocally because I have the same vocal range as Karen, and just also her as a person and her story, and just how prolific she and Richard were in their wonderful library of music. I quickly determined that that's what I wanted to be for the show. And it was really meant to just be a one-time thing. And then when I debuted it in January of 2015, I had so much fun doing it that I just wanted to keep on doing it. And things evolved over the years, and by the spring of 2017, I brought it to the Triad Theater in New York City, and it got a bit of attention there, and particularly one person who came to the show, he said he had some ideas and he'd be in touch, and lo and behold, a couple months later, he got in touch with me, and he said that he had a childhood friend living out here in Vegas, and she's a former showgirl, and so he connected me with her, and their idea was to get me to come out to Vegas, audition for Legends in Concert, which I ultimately did, and now I also perform with Legends in Concert. So I came out to Vegas in January of 2018, and this mutual friend scheduled me to sit in with various pianists. And Ned was the first one, and he was also the last one, so kind of the rest was history. But I was rethinking the show, and I was at the point where, like, well, I need somebody to play the role of Richard, because it wasn't just Karen, it was the Carpenters. So Ned was totally on board with the project, and that's how it all got started.
Well, Ned, I want to ask you, because Richard Carpenter is an interesting character. On the one hand, you figure Karen's the star. There's no question about it. But he was important, and he played a big part in that. And I would think that if people are going to go out and see a tribute act, they're going to kind of demand Richard Carpenter. So did you do like some research on this guy? Because, again, I always remember him with that, he had that particular thing in the back that was kind of standard through all their songs. And he was a good piano player. So did you do some of that to try to get whatever his persona was in that duo?
Yeah, I originally, when Sally and I first met, I only had like a basic, layman's knowledge of the Carpenters. Everybody knows Close to You and We've Only Just Begun and all the big hits. And I knew he played piano, and I knew he had somewhat of a jazz background. But boy, did I not realize what I was getting into, because he's probably one of the most underappreciated jazz pianists, composers, arrangers of the 20th century. Everyone knows Richard Carpenter. Of course, he's gotten his credit, but not nearly to the extent that he really deserved. He was a phenomenal pianist. He was a prodigy, a child prodigy. In fact, his parents, originally the first talent, because Richard, Sally, how much older is Richard than Karen was? 2 or 3 years older, right?
About 3.5 to 4 years. I think.
3.5.
He was born in 1950. He was born in 46. Yeah.
Yeah. So the original talented child in the family was Richard, and they were pushing his talent before Karen came into the picture. And so once we got the show going, and my degree is in arranging. I got a bachelor's degree in music, and I went to North Texas State University and studied jazz and that sort of thing, which I definitely came in handy for this, because I had to arrange a lot of the music for the show. And a lot of the stuff we do was never published. So, for example, there's this moment where Richard plays this Bach invention while Karen sings From This Moment On. It never got published. So not only did I have to learn it, which is not easy to play, I had to figure out what he was playing, transcribe it, and then learn it. So, yeah, there's classical features in there that Richard did. And, of course, those rich harmonies, those signature Carpenter, beautiful harmonies. And, I really, really had some big shoes to fill. I still have the utmost respect for him. He is now, I believe he's about 75 years old now. And, ultimately, he really is. If it was not for Richard, the Carpenters would definitely have not been what it is known for now, just Karen by herself. He deserves equally just as much credit as Karen did in their musical legacy.
Well, that's great, because I think that is an important part of this. And, a couple of questions for you, Sally. As Karen, first of all, you played the drums. Was that something you always did?
Well, I actually did not play the drums until I started doing this show. Going back to Vermont, it was in the early years of doing this show that I started thinking ahead and brainstorming on where I saw the show going. And I'm glad I did, because I started taking drum lessons several years ago. And even though I wasn't playing the drums in the show at that point when I was still in Vermont, I knew that was something I wanted to eventually incorporate into the show. So I started taking drum lessons, yeah.
Back with more from Sally Olson and Ned Mills from the Carpenters Tribute Concert, a recreation of the 1976 concert, which is appearing at Stoney's Rockin Country for a 6 weeks residency with performances on Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Just a reminder, please visit Vegas Never Sleeps online. For the very best in Vegas, it's vegasneversleeps.com. And for great sports, it's Sports Racks, RACX, which is available on radio stations nationwide and wherever you listen to podcasts. That's Sports RACX. Later today on Sports Rockin' Tours, you'll meet Hall of Fame linebacker Dave Robinson of the Green Bay Packers, who will discuss his incredible career. You're listening to Vegas Never Sleeps with Steven Maggi, coast to coast on the Talk Media Network.
Let's go to Vegas, baby. Let's go tonight. Right now. Let's go to Vegas.
If you love great sound, you'll love Oonce speakers. Oonce has been making great speakers for over 30 years, and now they've developed these cost-effective, great-sounding Bluetooth speakers. Meet Troy, one of the idea guys. Hey, Troy, how can I get these?
With 2-day free shipping, go to theoonce.com, TheOONTZ.com.
Be seen, be heard. Go to theoonce.com. That's TheOONTZ.com.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Okay, Sean, we need to talk about our training budget. We're spending almost $1,500 per employee each year. What's the plan?
Well, ma'am, 42% of companies are saying that e-learning has led to an increase in revenue.
What does that do about the travel expense?
E-learning allows employees to learn wherever they are.
Then we need to consider the time away from production.
I heard that e-learning takes up to 60% less employee time than traditional classroom training.
Perfect. Let's find a curriculum company, a development company, a learning management software company.
Actually, Epsilon XR specializes in end-to-end learning solutions with tools such as instructor-led training, online classrooms, simulations, virtual and augmented reality, and curriculum development.
Get Epsilon XR on the phone.
Epsilon XR creates immersive learning environments that engage with your learner, resulting in improved information retention, which leads to better performance and ultimately an increase in revenue. Learn more at elearning.epsilonxr.com.
Welcome back to Vegas Never Sleeps with Steven Maggi.
You are listening to Sally Olson and Ned Mills from the Carpenters Tribute Concert, a recreation of the 1976 concert.
Just like me, they long to be close to you.
Well, you guys take this really seriously in the sense that to get it just right, I know people talk about kind of the spot-on vocals. Ned just talked about the arrangement and so forth. One of the things you do, too, is, and of course, you mentioned that you dress that way. You've dressed that way for a long time. But I'm kind of curious about the dialogue because everybody knows the Karen Carpenter story is kind of sad, and some of the songs she sang were that way. Did that involve watching a lot of film and that kind of thing to kind of get a feel for it? Because she had a unique style. I mean, not only was that a beautiful voice, but it was presented in a sort of way people can recognize that, whether it's Christmas songs or the regular songs on the soft rock music station. You can pick up Karen Carpenter right away.
Yeah, that's true. Her voice is so unique that as soon as you hear the first note, you know it's Karen. She had that kind of voice quality. It's very intimate, and a lot of people describe it as being velvety, but it is that quality of like she's whispering in your ear and that she's singing just for you. So yeah, definitely. That's a very important kind of iconic feature of Karen's voice, and definitely something that I emulate when I perform.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One thing you guys do, which is kind of cool, is you do it with a more like a lean and mean background group. You got 5 performers, and from what I understand, most Carpenter tributes, they a lot of orchestra and so forth. But I think that just puts the pressure on you two. Ned, was that sort of the idea that we can do this and we want to keep the highest production value and make this, of course, cost-effective because it has to go around the country and do this all over?
You hit the nail right on the head, because obviously we don't have $100,000 budgets, and can bring a full orchestra with us, or even when they did the UK tour, although, of course, they had their nucleus of their backup musicians, there's a moment where the curtain opens and, oh my God, there's a full orchestra back there. We're not in a position to do that. So but I found ways to, make it a lean operation, to make it palatable and affordable that we can perform in any venue. Sally and I have even done very intimate spaces where it's just me and Sally. We recently did that at the Italian American Club a couple of months ago. And, we have a couple of things where we do that as well. And in a way, I think it's even more flattering or fulfilling when it's just me and her and we still get a really nice standing ovation or, at the end of the show, where I get one after my classical feature. I do Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. And so it's really, we really get a kick out of that too. So, but yeah, we have really talented musicians here locally. We have John Plows is our drummer, who we take everywhere. We have Matt Baldoni on guitar, who also performs with the Australian Bee Gees, and we have Jim DeRigo on saxophone, clarinet, and flute. And then if we do have to travel extensively, we take our drummer with us, and we have a roster of talent throughout the country that we also have perform with us.
I want to ask both of you this, so I'll start with you, Sally, first. But as I think of the Carpenters, okay, I remember when I was very young when they were popular, and a lot of us cool kids didn't want anything to do with that. We were listening to the leftover Beatles stuff and the Rolling Stones and all that stuff. But as you get older, it's not that you don't like that other stuff, but their music sort of creeps in, and you hear it over and over and over a lifetime. They got that great Christmas music that's always part of the tape that is playing in the background, it seems, and it's almost part of your life when you have it in the background, whether you're shopping. Is of that music, while I would call it soft rock, appeals to a large group of folks. Does that put kind of extra pressure? You guys have to be really tight with this stuff because people have heard it so often, and now that they don't, Karen, of course, passed, and of course they're not doing this stuff. There's not as much leeway for you to get close. You have to hit it right on the nail on the head.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly true. I guess for me it's not as difficult as one might think, just because I think I'm naturally lucky to have that same voice quality as Karen. So when I'm up there and I just open my mouth and sing, what comes out is what's natural for me, and it just so happens to be in line with how Karen sang. In terms of the only things that I really had to adjust was just paying really close attention to her phrasing and some of how she pronounced certain words to give it that extra little Karen-esque, flair. But by and large, it was just already there for me. So yeah, I'm pretty lucky. Otherwise, yeah, I could see where for a lot of people it would be very difficult.
Well, Ned, as playing the Richard Carpenter part, you kind of have all that other stuff to worry about, right? Because he was, as I understand it, he was kind of a perfectionist with the way the sound is, and it has to be perfect and so forth. And there you are playing that role.
Yeah, and beyond the role of playing the piano on the stage, it's interesting the parallels of what I have to do behind the scenes that Richard also did, because I serve as music director of the show. I am the technical director of the show. In fact, it's actually today I draw up the stage the stage plots, the microphone input lists. I book the musicians. I handle the technical aspects of the show. I communicate with the sound guy. There's a lot of that stuff. A lot of people don't realize that, Richard was the one who personally selected every song. He knew how to to get the most out of Karen's voice that he possibly could, choosing the keys, taking advantage of that beautiful alto voice Karen had, the harmonies, the studio thing. They weren't just like some smiley, pop duo that just did their stuff and everyone else handled all the stuff. No, it was a lot of it was on Richard's shoulders. And that's why even to this day, we had the honor of, seeing Herb Alpert perform at the Smith Center a couple of years ago, and he talks, a lot about the Carpenters because that was a big chapter in his life. And so, yeah, the behind the scenes stuff is just as important, and something that Sally and I both come to realization as well. In a way, we've done this now so much in just a short 2.5 years we've been performing this show that it's becoming second nature. I'm new to it, of course. Sally's been doing it much longer than me, so I had catching up to do. But that part's second nature, and that's kind of our reward for the hard work leading up to it. The music is really, in a way, it's the easy part. It's the fun part of the show. Would you say that, Sally? It's like,
yeah, that's when we get to have fun and play.
That's the reward, and people don't know. Like if we have, for example, I think it's Stoney's. If curtain opens at 7:00, leading up to all that hard work before the first note hits, and all the preparation and the rehearsals and all of that stuff. The easiest part for us is the fun part is sitting down and making the music.
More with Sally Olson and Ned Mills from the Carpenters tribute concert, a recreation of the 1976 concert, in just a few moments. The show celebrates the music and legacy of the famed brother-sister duo, featuring the Carpenters' hit songs, Karen's drum solo, Richard's classical piano feature, a Spike Jones parody of Close to You, and more. Don't forget to follow Sports Rockin' Tours, which now follows this show on most of these stations. You can also visit Sports RACX wherever you listen to podcasts. You're listening to Vegas Never Sleeps with Steven Maggi, nationwide on the Talk Media Network.
Hey, I'm Paul Shortino, and you're listening to Vegas Never Sleeps with Steven Maggi. Rock on.
Let's go to Vegas, baby. Let's go tonight. Let's go to Vegas. We'll stay up all night. Let's go to Vegas, baby. Let's get away.
You're listening to Vegas Never Sleeps with Steven Maggi.
You are listening to Vegas Never Sleeps. We are chatting with Sally Olson and Ned Mills from the Carpenters tribute concert, a recreation of the 1976 concert, which features a powerful live band, historical commentary and video, taking audiences on an incredible journey down memory lane into the world of the Carpenters.
He's got a ticket to ride, and he don't care.
Well, let me ask you a question then. You're having fun with it. You do sound like them. There's no question. And as you get more into this, and you'll be doing this for a long time, you ever hear a song that's popular, either in the past or one currently, that you think, wow, what could the Carpenters do with that? You ever think about trying something like that? I mean, it's kind of hard because everybody wants to hear what they did, and we all get that. But you ever tempted to do something like that?
We've had discussions about this actually multiple times. We have some friends who are talented songwriters, and say, hey, wouldn't it be cool if that, or we say, yeah, if Karen was still with us today, what would she be doing? What would she be singing? And we do have in the works a recording project of taking some of their hits, and one of them in particular, we're going to take it and give it a complete fresh coat of paint, and Sally's going to be singing it in English and in Spanish, and giving it like a little bit of a beautiful Latin flavor to it, just to give it something a little interesting. I mean, if they want to hear Carpenters, of course, they can buy their albums,
right.
But what could we do to kind of give our own little spin on it? So yeah, that's definitely on the table.
Yeah,
right, but at the same time, it still has that iconic Carpenters sound, even with this
sound,
new reinvention of it.
Exactly, the harmonies. You have to have that too. I mean, if there and some of the things that I've put together, it can be 4-part harmony or 5-part harmony, and there's a lot of work, involved in developing that sound, and definitely the jazz influence is really big with the Carpenters.
Well, it's real exciting. We're looking forward to this. We can't wait. It's great to have great music back on the Strip and around town and so forth, so we're excited. Are you planning the Christmas tour again? Because, of course, you do a regular Christmas tribute concert, which is a great fit with what you do during the rest of the year. Are you planning to do one this year, or have you even thought of that?
Well, there have been some discussions of some things in regards to that. What we did before was a lot of people realize the Carpenters never toured with their Christmas show. And so we took the Christmas specials from their, 1977 and 78.
Yeah, 1977 and 78. And this was an idea that I had about a year before I met Ned, and I had the opportunity to put together a Carpenters Christmas show kind of on the fly. And I was at the time doing some shows with a dinner theater out in Ohio, and they're like, well, they'd had me out for my main Carpenters show, and they're like, do you have a Christmas show? I'm like, well, I was planning on it, so I put it together. And like Ned said, it's based on their 2 Christmas TV specials. And then, of course, when I met Ned and we did the revamp of the main show, and then we did an overhaul of the Christmas show. So yes, once again, it's the 2 Christmas TV specials, and And just like our main show, I meticulously scripted it from what you hear Karen and Richard saying in the TV specials.
And I had a lot of fun, too, since I'm also kind of the prop designer for the show. Sally has a big hand in the costumes and that sort of thing. And so I designed this. I have this high-tech Christmas tree that can set up in about 30 seconds. The stockings hung by the chimney with care.
and there's lots of video projections, too.
This is great stuff.
Yeah, there sure is. And in that one, we have a vintage, because it's based on the TV specials, we brought back a lot of those classic TV commercials that people see. It was done on, what was it, Sally, ABC, I believe?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, they did all their TV
bring back
on ABC.
Yeah, and when we did the show in Texas last year, we really got a kick out of hearing the audience sing along. It's been 40, 50 years, and they're all singing, "My baloney has a first name," singing them with the commercials, and Kodak, the time of your life. And so we went back and recreated that too. So although that to make more people feel more like, rather than sitting in the audience, they're like sitting in their living room watching the special on their big TV set.
That's great. They go back to the 20th
then.
century, and that music does get in your head. Let's face it, as you were saying both of those, I could hear them right going on. So I understand that. This is really exciting. So it's you got to get out there and see this. They're going to be there for 6 weeks, Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. at Stoney's Rockin Country over in Town Square, which is a great place to watch concerts. Sally, if we want to learn more about that, you have a place online we can go and follow you guys as you develop this even further and maybe get ready for the Christmas season in a few months?
Yeah, absolutely. People can check out our website, and that's www.carpenterstributconcert.com. Of course, it's Carpenters, plural, with an S. We're also on Facebook and Instagram and all of the major social media platforms, and you can find links to those on our website and YouTube. So
we will do that. I think YouTube is a great go. In case you're wondering how good this is, go watch something there, and it's even better in person. Thank you. Best of luck for the 6 weeks, and we hope to see you around again in Vegas.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and we really want to thank you for everything you do to help promote the entertainment community, and we're really excited about getting back to normal.